Hi, my name is Dr. Marianne Centron. I'm going to try to put one of my blogs on a video and see if I get a little bit more uh, people listening and liking this video, because many people have asked what part of the brain causes dyslexia. So being very familiar with the parts of the brain called the left and right angular gyruses, I was surprised to learn from several presenters on language acquisition that the brain was not really created to read. Reading began in the early 1800s and 1900s. So the brain is evolving. We have a higher level of neuron pathways, learning that many parts of the brain are still working in concert to create pathways that allow us to read and comprehend. So the left hemisphere is the place for phonological processing and auditory processing, and where language is developed. When words are learned as pictures, they go right to the right hemisphere. So you could imagine people who struggle with reading, whose words are in the right hemisphere, are not able to sound them out. That's because they belong in the left hemisphere. So if kids are taught whole language, they've learned their words in pictures. So we know that's contributed to a big problem. And if not, we're finding out that they were not taught phonics explicitly. So they weren't taught directly. They were stuck in front of a computer. So they struggle with their reading. So I want to give you some buzzwords that you're going to hear with language acquisition. And one of them is the plasticity of the brain. You could imagine what that means, okay? The brain is trainable. It can be changed and it can be retrained. So that's how we talk to our older kids when we're teaching them phonics and having them read phonogram cards, because we're just saying we're retraining your brain. So with such a demand on excellent readers, those whose brains are not really wired for reading or having a difficult time, they could be very creative and have so many other strengths, but they struggle with reading, so their self-esteem is low, and we want to help them read. We want them to use their creative skills and gifts from God. So these are our dyslexic children. The way we teach people to read has to be a multisensory approach. So we are working to their strengths and their weaknesses. So the teachings require auditory, visual, and kinesthetic processes, and about a 45 to 50 minute intervention. So the programs must be sequential, systematic, and cumulative. So what does that mean? Sequential means steps are taken in a logical order. Systematic refers to the repetition of those steps day to day. And then cumulative means students are building on prior knowledge. So language relates to sound symbol relationships, where kids immediately recognize the sounds that go with those names. So they'll see the letter P and they'll say peep. They'll see the letter B, they'll say B. Okay. So language also relates to fluency, which is the speed and accuracy that kids are reading. And it's related to comprehension and vocabulary development. My children were using Orton Gillingham reading program called Spalding when they were in private school, when they were little kiddos. Now they're in their 20s. So when they were learning to read phonics, I was learning along with them. And it was hard. It was like learning a new language. And I loved it, though, because, I don't know, I guess God has instilled in me a love to learn language. So back in 2005, I sought out to learn about Orton Gillingham. I learned that Sam Orton and Anna Gillingham worked together creating this pedagogy. Pedagogy it's like the pattern of what should be done. So learning needed to be multisensory. What got my attention was Sam Orton and Anna Gillingham spawned what is today the International Dyslexia Association. So IDA members, International Dyslexia members, teach structured literacy, and members and speakers discuss the research that supports many parts of the brain working together to create a reading brain. But what I learned back in 2005 is what I specifically want to share. And it is what inspired me to open a private practice back then, and then years later to actually pursue my doctorate. So in my own searches, I learned the roles of the left and right angular gyruses and how they impacted reading. I learned that the left angular gyrus was intended for reading, and the right angular gyrus was geared more for the creative side and loved music. Kids who struggle with reading, the right side of the brain is dominant, taking over the reading. So it'll send the word over incorrectly. So if a student reads the word stop, but the right angular gyrus sends over spot, that kid's going to lose that sense of urgency and danger. So they could be really learning something bad and being in danger. So say they're reading the word clam, but the brain sends the word calm. That L is in the wrong place. And then say they read the word clap, and instead the word kelp is sent to the right side of the brain. Well, can you imagine how frustrating that is when you try to comprehend, when your brain is sending you all the wrong words? So this is what's really cool. So the left and right angular gyruses are very involved with reading. So what would happen if you were to occupy the right side of the brain with something it loved to do so that it wouldn't take over the reading? So that's what we do. We have an app. I have an app. Created an app called Dunking Dyslexia. You need your ear pods. The left ear listens to music, and the right ear listens to spelling exercises. So simultaneously, the music is crossing over to the right angular gyrus, giving it a job it likes to do so it doesn't take over. The right ear is listening to spelling exercises, sending it to the left angular gyrus, and it's developing that left side of the brain. And I think of it as like a Pilates of the brain. Students are making faster progress with this approach to reading. And I like shortcuts. I've been a teacher for 20 years, 10 years in the classroom, and I was always teaching my math students shortcuts to answering those problems in math. So while listening to music and spelling exercises saves time, it has to be the culminating activity of a multisensory intervention. So the research shows kids who receive, 40 to 60 minutes of intervention a day for a year, we're making great progress. We're making over a year gain of reading progress. With this process, with the music, kids are making 1 to 3 year gains. Okay, if you're not sitting down, you got to sit down in 6 weeks. That's right, 6 weeks. I was amazed when I was seeing these results that I had to take it to the school districts and get the word out. So, long story short, I got my doctorate because it was such an amazing thing. Step-by-step reading program is the reading program I developed to belong with this app. So I'm going to tell you a word. It's called enhancing the lateralization. We're going to enhance how information crosses in the brain. There's a central part of your brain called the corpus callosum. It gets bypassed when you And it's like the lazy referee of the brain. So the music is in the right side of the brain being entertained. It's in the right angular gyrus. Spelling exercises are sent to the left side of the brain, giving the brain what it was intended to do. Sort those sounds, develop phonemic awareness. The confusing corpus callosum is bypassed. That's why there's such a rapid increase in the learning. So this research is based on the Nobel Prize winning Roger Sperry, who won a Nobel Prize for his research he did in the 60s based on seizure patients. And he said that if people would realize the left side of the brain could operate independently from the right side of the brain, this would have phenomenal breakthrough for people in education. So my predecessor found rapid results bringing music with her reading program. And I also developed a reading program that uses the music app at the end of a 45-minute intervention. So anyway, I hope this helps, and I hope you enjoy this video, and hopefully I'll be able to put more of my blogs into video. Thank you. You can see my website. It's www.dyslexia-solutions.com, and my name is Dr. Marianne. Thanks for checking in. Bye.